it's never easy to follow somebody with the nickname The Great One, so. Thankfully, having Mike Huckabee for a father, I'm used to following people who set the bar pretty high. Good afternoon. It is an honor to be back at RJC. And I want to thank the organizers of this event who year after year put on an amazing show of support for conservative values and our friends in the Jewish community. The last time I was here in 2023, the mood in the room was very different. It wasn't even a month after the October 7th attacks. And it seemed like in the battle of good versus evil, evil was winning. Thankfully, things have changed. With the support of groups like this one, Donald Trump as our president, his administration standing firmly behind Israel, and him building the foundation for peace in the Middle East. That couldn't have happened if it weren't for the groundswell of help from RJC and its many supporters. I've known many of you in the audience for years, but America really got to know me when I had the privilege of serving as President Trump's White House press secretary. When the president hired me, I was only the third woman and the very first mom to ever serve in that job. People would ask me all the time, Sarah, how did you prepare to be White House press secretary? I said, it's really easy. I'm a mom to preschool-aged children. When I started there, my kids were 5, 3, and 1. So I had to have a tremendous amount of patience. I had to say no a lot, and I was used to answering the same question over and over and over again. When I started working for the president, we did chaos at our house really well. In fact, I was one of the few administration officials who came to the White House to get a break because it was easier than being at home with our kids. But during my time in the Trump administration, I had a front row seat to his actions in support of Israel and Jewish people across the globe. I was there with the president when he made his first trip overseas in his administration, which included a stop in Israel. I defended the president later that year when he made the decision to move the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Israel's rightful capital in Jerusalem. And I was the press secretary in 2018 when he pulled our nation out of President Obama's failed deal with Iran. Every single time the president stood up for our friends in Israel, as you can imagine, the media went absolutely crazy, saying Hamas and Iran would invade and that we'd just caused World War III. And every single time, the media was wrong and President Trump was right. There's a very clear lesson when you compare President Trump's successes with President Biden's absolute failures. It proves that peace through strength works, but weakness and apologies only create more chaos. It's in large part thanks to President Trump that I'm now the youngest governor in the country. You know, I get introduced that way pretty often, and as long as I continue to be the youngest governor in the country, I'm going to let them keep saying it. However, my kids are kind of tired of hearing it. And I was at an event a few weeks ago, and my youngest son, George, was with me in the room when I got introduced as the youngest governor. And when I sat back down after my speech, George turned to me and he said, Mom, are you still really the youngest governor in the country? Feeling pretty proud of myself, I said, yes, George. As a matter of fact, I am. He didn't skip a beat, and he said, "Those other guys must be really, really old." Well, whether you think I'm too young or really, really old, over the first 3 years of my administration, we've had the chance to shake things up in Arkansas. One of my top priorities has been to show our public support of our friends in Israel in any way we can to show our help. Earlier this year, my state bought $50 million in Israeli bonds, not just showing our support, but making a sound investment in one of the world's strongest economies. We created the Right to Worship grant program to provide thousands of dollars for security at Jewish places of worship that were threatened by anti-Semitic attacks. And we are very proud that written in our state law, the region west of the Jordan River is referred to by its biblical and historical name, Judea and Samaria. This past summer, I had the chance to visit Israel when they were still in the thick of the fight against Hamas. And again, to show my state's support for our friends there in the Middle East. My dad likes to say that Israel is the one place in the world that you can visit for the first time and it feels like you're coming home. And even though it was far from my first time to be there, it very much felt like coming home. From the center of Jerusalem to the olive groves in Shiloh. One thing I was especially proud to tell our Israeli friends is that Arkansas produces critical components for Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system, which has saved thousands of lives in the conflict against Hamas. And I'm proud that we're expanding our production lines so that we can help even more. We will not back down. But this visit especially felt like coming home because I got to see my mom and dad. My dad, who is now serving as President Trump's ambassador to Israel, and I may be a little biased, but I don't think there's anybody that could do a better job. My dad has had a lot of important titles throughout his career. He's been a pastor, a governor, a talk show host, even a candidate for president. But I honestly believe that God put him in this role at this time for a very specific reason. From the moment I was born, my dad has been giving my brother and I advice on life and our faith in God, frankly, whether we ask for it or not. And one of his biggest lessons was on the importance of our faith, of Israel, and our support of the Jewish people. After all, Christianity literally wouldn't exist without Judaism. My dad has been a great, humble leader all of my life. And so it has been both heart-wrenching and inspiring to watch him spend the better part of the summer working from a bunker as Iranian missiles rain down overhead. My dad has not been home since March, and he has not seen his grandkids since he left, but he is more committed now than ever before. In the midst of the firestorm, my dad sent a text to President Trump, and I quote, "Mr. President, God spared you in Butler, Pennsylvania, to be the most consequential president in a century. maybe ever. The decisions on your shoulders, I would not want to be made by anybody else. You have many voices speaking to you, sir, but there is only one voice that matters, his voice. I am your appointed servant in this land, and I am available for you. But I do not try to get in your presence often, because I trust your instincts. No president in my lifetime has been in a position like yours. Not since Truman in 1945. I don't reach out to persuade you, only to encourage you. I believe you will hear from heaven, and that voice is far more important than mine or anyone else's. You sent me to Israel to be your eyes, ears, and voice, and to make sure our flag flies above our embassy. My job is to be the last to leave. I will not abandon this post, and our flag will not come down. You did not seek this moment, but this moment sought you. It is my honor to serve you. Signed, Mike Huckabee. Just like President Trump was called to be our president, I truly believe my dad was called by God to serve as ambassador to Israel in this critical time for both that country and our own. Even if that meant my husband and I lost our best free babysitters. He's been going to Israel for more than half a century, and I still consider the first time he took me to the Holy Land to be one of the most transformational experiences of my childhood. You may have heard this story before, but it's one I want to tell again because I really think it shows what this fight is all about. On that very first trip I ever took, I was 11 years old, and one of the last stops on our trip was to Yad Vashem, which, as you know, commemorates one of the darkest eras in all of human history, the Nazi genocide against the Jewish people. I was only 11 years old, but my parents wanted me to understand the importance of standing up against evil. So he decided to take my brothers and I to that place. Yad Vashem sits on Mount Herzl, often referred to as the Mount of Remembrance. Yad Vashem in Hebrew means a memorial and a name, and its goal is to memorialize the Holocaust, and in particular, all of the Jewish people who were killed and had no descendants left on earth to carry on their name. We walked through the museum where I looked at the photos of the bodies who had been starved to death. I listened to the voices of survivors tell of the horrific things that they had been through. And I watched the videos of the kids who had their shoes removed and stacked high before they were marched to their death. I didn't speak as we walked through Yad Vashem. At one point, I did reach up and grab a hold of my father's hand, and I gripped it tightly for the next hour and a half. But I didn't say a word, and he never once left my side. He stayed with me, watching and waiting, hoping I understood why he had brought me there in the first place. He wanted me to see it. He wanted me to understand what happens when good people sit by and let evil prevail. We got to the end, and there was a guest book for visitors to sign, placed on a podium much like the one I'm standing behind right now. I knew my dad always kept a pen in his pocket, so I reached up and I took it out. Looking over my shoulder, he watched as I inscribed my name and address in the book. And then I paused at the comments section And he waited to see if I would write something in that place that let him know I understood why had brought me there. I still hadn't spoken, but in the book I carefully wrote words both he and I will never forget. Very simply, why didn't somebody do something? At a young age, I understood that all it takes for evil to win is for good people to do nothing. And let me be very clear, and if you hear nothing else I or anyone else say today, the rise of anti-Semitism we are seeing in both parties is vile, disgusting, and unacceptable, and we cannot sit back while it happens. We must be vocal and we must fight back. We will not allow the loud voices to overtake what is good and right in this world. And while this world we call home remains a dangerous one, America now has a president and an ambassador to Israel that are doing something about it, that are being the somebodies that are taking the fight to the forces of darkness that frankly threaten us all. My dad is a man of deep faith and conviction. He's generous, sometimes funny, and he has been my greatest mentor and inspiration. There really is no one better. So let us all commit ourselves to joining him in being the somebodies who do something, and never forget to stand with the Jewish people. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the honor of allowing me to be with you. May God bless you, and may God bless the great people of this country. Thank you so much.